Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and I hope you're all well. I have taken so long to get this video out, so super sorry. I just find that each video that I do just gets harder and harder, and obviously like I haven't really had to think about a lot of my feelings and everything around it. Today I'm going to be talking about my 14-week pregnancy loss. God, so where do I begin? In my last video, the Pashamola, I talked about how I really wanted to get pregnant again straight after we lost that pregnancy. We tried for a little while and it wasn't working really, like we weren't getting pregnant, so we just kind of thought, hang on a second, we'll just chill and just not push ourselves, because it just wasn't good for my kind of like mental health. I was obviously still grieving, and that's why I wanted to be pregnant so bad. I mean, everyone knows who's been trying, you know, when you get to the end of the month and you realize you're not pregnant, that just sucks. When I lost the baby with the Pashamola, that was in August, and in the coming December I had something called the Let's treatment. I haven't talked too much about this on my page or at all really, but I have had a lot of cervical issues before I even started getting pregnant, and they really fluctuated between stages and being normal and abnormal and all of that. When I first found out, it wasn't too bad, and they just kept monitoring it and taking biopsies and everything like that. I think my stage went to stage 2, and they were kind of talking about just doing a Let's treatment. It's just when they kind of go in and just take a layer off your cervix to take all the bad cells and then reveal the other ones, and then they'll take a biopsy of that to make sure that those cells are normal. When they talked about this, they were telling me about all the risks that they have to do. Obviously they have to tell you what could go wrong and all of that, and the one thing was miscarriages afterwards, because your cervix gets thinner obviously with them doing that. So that was a huge thing for me, and obviously I want to be able to hold my own children, and that was just the biggest thing that I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. And at the time the doctor was like, no, like it's really minor, hardly anyone gets it and everything. Yeah, I don't know, something just didn't sit right with me with that. So I said no, and I said, can you just do another biopsy and see what those cells are like now? And then that came back normal. So that was like, whoo, yes, finally, like in the clear. So when I lost the Pashamola baby, that was in August, and then I had another lot of tests done in November, and then they came back as stage 3. So stage 3 is just the stage before they're kind of classed as cancerous. And I'm not too sure about the procedures and what it is if you get to stage 4, but I was in stage 3 at the time. So going from fluctuating between 1 or 2 and then being normal as well, and then all of a sudden going to stage 3, that was kind of like, oh shit. It was really hard to decide what I wanted to do, and again they were like, we really are pushing for you to do the Let's treatment, and I just said, oh, I just don't know, because I really am really scared about the risks and the fact that I could have a lot of miscarriages after. He was kind of like, no, it's like, you know, small percentage and all of that. So I done the Let's treatment, and I was actually 4 weeks pregnant at the time and didn't know. They didn't ask me if I thought I could have been pregnant, or they didn't just do kind of like a mandatory pregnancy test, which I think they should do, because yeah, I mean, I didn't even think I could have been pregnant, and 2, because I had been trying to get pregnant and wasn't getting pregnant. So I don't know, it just didn't even like come to my head. And so after that was all fine, I was healing from that. My cervix wasn't though. Obviously when you're pregnant, God, I feel like I'm saying obviously a lot, but when I was pregnant, your cervix changes a lot and your body changes a lot. So I didn't actually have time to heal because all this stuff was happening. I was on and off bleeding throughout it, and I just thought it was just due to the let's treatment. And I was like, oh, it must be normal. And they just said if you get random spotting, it's kind of normal. And when I found out I was pregnant, it wasn't until about early January, just after New Year's, and I still didn't kind of put two and two together that my bleeding could have been because of the lets, or that I kind of just needed to be checked again to make sure that everything was okay. That pregnancy was a lot easier nausea wise. We didn't tell anyone until we got to our 13-week scan. We had our dating scan, that was all cool, and then had our 13-week scan. I went with my mum to Wanganui. She took me, and my brothers came, which was really special. My partner was working at the time, so he couldn't make it. We got there, and I was really nervous because I didn't get to that point with the first baby, so I was really hoping that everything was okay still, and that I didn't obviously have another partial molar and everything. When the scan started, I could instantly see a baby, and that was really cool. And the girl that was doing the scan, she was saying how cute the baby looked and everything was perfect, and cervix looked fine from what she could see and all of that. So I got to go home to Jordan and have a little picture to take, which was really cool, and we're all super excited. Then we started telling family, because obviously you're just in that moment, seeing the scan, got the photos, you're like, cool, we can finally tell our friends. We got to the point where you're marked as safe. The next day everything was fine. At about 6 p.m. Me and my partner were out, and I got a phone call from my sister-in-law. So me and my sister-in-law were pregnant at the same time. She was about 10-ish weeks ahead of me. We were super stoked. We thought it was so cool that, you know, we were going to have little cousins born close together. Anyway, she phoned me and she said that she was bleeding really heavily. She sounded like she was in distress, but she was obviously trying to be brave and be like, don't worry, like, I'll just go to the hospital and see if everything's okay. And I was like, don't be stupid, I'm bloody coming with you. I rushed home, hopped in the car with my mother-in-law, and we went there straight away. When we got there, I had never seen so much blood. It was really scary, and we were all just trying to, you know, come together and be strong for her, and we're just waiting for her to be able to get into a room. I think it was kind of busy, and we're just like, we need to get in a room now to check the baby, because we just thought she was losing the baby because of all that blood. When she got to go in the room, we didn't go in with her. I think her mum just went in with her, and the baby was fine. He was super happy in there. Then they figured out that she had something called placenta previa, which is when the placenta covers the opening to the uterus, so covers the cervix, and that can cause severe bleeding either before or during labour. And so pretty much what the big issue was, that we didn't want her to lose heaps of blood, otherwise pretty much would have to, you know, the doctors would have to save her, and the baby wouldn't make it because he wasn't considered viable yet. As I think he was 22 weeks, don't quote me on that, but he was around then. Yeah, that was super scary, and we just wanted, you know, a few more weeks just so that we could get him to at least viability. We stayed there for a little bit. I think I ended up going home about 10 p.m. at night, and I was super tired. I felt kind of off, actually. Like, thinking about it now, I don't know, I just didn't feel quite right, and I was like, I'm gonna go home, hope you're okay, message you if you need anything. And went home, went to sleep, and at about 5 o'clock, 6 in the morning, I woke up and I felt, it's really hard to describe, I kind of felt like a water balloon kind of popping, and not quite like waters, because I know what that feels like. So kind of similar, but not as intense. And I thought I wet myself in my sleep, and I woke up, ran to the toilet, and there was just so much blood, and I just started freaking out, because it's so scary when your body's doing all the stuff and you just can't stop it. You feel it's so out of your control. So I was just kind of freaking, and asked or told Jordan, I was like, I think you need to take me to hospital, I'm just bleeding heaps. And yeah, and I just don't have a good feeling about it. We got to the hospital and waited a little bit. They ended up doing a scan, and every time I happened to something goes wrong, it's in the weekend and there's no one there to bloody like do anything or do scans. I think it's so bloody stupid. Like, you don't plan for yourself to have a miscarriage or something in the weekend and you've got to wait for the week to come so that you can get like a proper scan. And he had, anyway, one of the guys came in and he done a little scan on his bloody scan machine and the baby had dropped a lot. He just wasn't really in the womb anymore. I don't know why I'm calling him a he. I felt like I was pregnant with a boy, and I'm usually quite right with the gender. So when the baby was downward, still had a heartbeat, it was quite low, and they said, yeah, you definitely have a miscarriage. So from when I got there around 6:30, I passed the baby at about 10 in the toilet, and they didn't actually even tell me like what to do if that happened, and because usually they give you a bucket so that you can just always put it in the toilet, so if anything comes out they can grab it or look, or oh god, I don't even know. So when I passed it, I got something to kind of flick up whatever was in the toilet. Oh, I know. This sounds like real silly, like talking about it now, like, but like, why did I do that? Why didn't I just ask a nurse to check for me or something? But you're just in such like a weird mind state that you just don't even know what the hell you are up to. But yeah, I flicked it up and I could see it, and I could see like all the, I don't know, like skeleton and everything. It was real kind of transparent, and it just gave me a huge fright that I flushed it down the toilet. And that beat me up a lot over flushing it down the toilet, because I would have really loved to bury it somewhere and do something for it, but I flushed it because I don't know. I was in the toilet for a little while, like kind of like freaking out, like shit, did I just see that? Did I just flush it down the toilet? And then my partner and mother-in-law obviously realized like, oh, she's taking a long time in there, maybe we should check on her. And they were like, are you okay? And then I said, I think I flushed it down the toilet. And they were like, why didn't you, just wait and get someone to get it out? But I was like, no one told me, I don't know what I was doing. I got freaked out and I just flushed it. When I told the doctor, they were kind of like, no, I don't think you've passed it yet. But they didn't actually even do another test, like another ultrasound after the last ones. They didn't do anything because they'd clearly seen it on the scan, but then they didn't bother looking. They just kind of put me in another room to monitor me, and yeah, that was it really. One of the doctors came in, they were trying to get me to go home to see if I could pass the baby, but because I was bleeding so much, my partner was like, nope, she's staying here, end of story, which is really good because I didn't have much of a voice then, or I didn't feel like I had much of a voice then. My midwife was useless. When I called her saying that I was bleeding, literally what she said to me on the phone was, oh, Portia, what are we going to do with you? Because she was my midwife for the first one. And yeah, I just felt like she was too busy for me, which was like, come on, like this is pretty much my first pregnancy because I hadn't even gotten to that point. So I felt like everything was really new for me. And that was it. I didn't even hear from her after that, which I was just like, oh, and it's really awkward seeing her now too, by the way. And so we waited until it was the weekday. I think at that point it was a Sunday, and then on the Monday we got taken to get a scan, a proper one, to make sure everything was okay. And of course when they done the scan, there was no baby there. So I did see the baby, and everything that I was saying was obviously correct. There was tissue left over, so they booked me in for a D&C. So this was my second D&C I've had to go through, just to make sure that they can get all the tissue out and I'll stop bleeding, because my body just loves to bleed everything out, and it actually doesn't do anything. It just makes me really sick, and it could possibly be deadly if I just bleed to death. So I went in for my D&C, and they wanted to monitor me overnight again just to make sure the bleeding stopped. I didn't go to sleep until about 3 a.m. and my sister-in-law messaged me at about 3:30 saying I've gone in for surgery. That whole day was pretty much just trying to make sure she wasn't bleeding, you know, too much for them to put more blood into her. They were trying to replace the blood that she was losing so that she could just get to viability. But if she was losing too much blood faster than what they could put back into her, she would have had to go into surgery to save her life. So I didn't read that until about 6 o'clock, and I just started bawling my eyes out. I was just like, how could this happen to us? Like, God, it's like making me emotional now just thinking about it. But oh, it was just the worst feeling in the fucking world, just that moment and talking about, oh, now it just sucks. When we got to go to and see the baby, we didn't get to see Abby at all because she was still in recovery she ended up having to have a hysterectomy, and that sucked too because I know how much she wants to be a mum. Obviously she is a mum, but I just feel like she should have been able to have multiple kids and everything and not go through this fucking crap. And when we got to see him, he was just beautiful. He was in a suite in the labour ward. The labour ward is called a willow suite, and that room is just, I understand like the aspect of having a room for that, but it's pretty much where mums go or people go if they think that you're going to lose your baby. And it's a big room, so all your family can be in there and everything, but I just remember like looking back when I went in there with Saskia, I hadn't even had her yet, and I thought maybe there was a chance to save her, but when I got put in that suite, it just, like, I just knew what was going to happen, and that sucked. Like, no mother should have to go in there and know that they think I'm going to lose my baby. And it was super hard for Abby to even go back into that room after that scenario with Vincent. So when we got to see Abby, she was really out of it, not herself. We just kind of left her to heal and just be there with her baby. I got to go home that day and I just rested. I had a lot of cramps after obviously what I went through, so I just rested, and we were in and out of hospital seeing her and just being there for her. It was really nice to see all of us come together as a family and support each other and everything. We had a really nice service for the babies. We got balloons and let them go, and we do that every year for them. It's just something that's really special for us to do. And yeah, but that is pretty much it on that story. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps someone know that they're not alone and there's someone that is going through this too and is still going through it. Like, this obviously still upsets me a lot. And thank you so much for your love and support. I couldn't do this without you guys, you know, messaging me and really uplifting me to do this for you. I've connected with so many mothers that have gone through this, and it's just the best way to heal, and I'm still healing. So yeah, thank you, and I will see you in my next video.